Now, you guys know I've been hearing a lot of things about LSU football, LSU athletics in general, man. This is the place for it. This is the place we're going to talk about it. But I'm here to try to break the narrative because I hear from a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys ask me, send me messages, asking like what's going on with LSU recruiting. Like, we haven't heard anything. Um, in the last couple weeks. I mean, it's kind of slowed down here. Like LSU's coaching staff is kind of focusing on spring practice right now. So you got to take that into account. And along with other things, it's just a slower time for recruiting, guys. Like these guys are getting in with their high schools, working out, getting into their spring practices. They're kind of focusing. Most of them are going into their senior years, focusing on that. So in that case, you're probably just not hearing a lot of things going on with a lot of people right now, and that's including LSU. But if you stick around, man, we're gonna break it all down. We're gonna give you the guys the recruiting update. The month of March was good to LSU again. The month of April, I expect to be nothing short of that, with the LSU hosting tons and tons of prospects as they get ready to kick off their spring game here in just over a week. But guys, I gotta ask you one thing, man. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed to the channel, like what are you doing? This is LSU Recruiting HQ. If you want recruiting headquarters, this is it. I'm your guy. I'm here breaking it all down every single week. Every single week I'm here. I'm talking about something. I'm talking about how bad baseball's playing all the time. I'm talking about football coming up, spring game coming up, recruiting, which is what we're talking about today. So if you guys could, man, like this video, comment down whatever you want. I don't it doesn't even matter to me. Just let me know you're here. Let me feel the love from the LSU faithful. And guys, if you're not already, man, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. All it does is help us out, and lets you guys have access for free. Every single week I'm here. Let's get into the show, man. Let's talk about recruiting. We're talking about LSU recruiting. We're going to start with the 2025 class. Currently sitting at the number 2 class, but a completely loaded class. As everybody already knows, you got guys like Bryce Underwood, Decorian Moore, Harlem Berry headlining this 2025 class. But we're going to start off by talking about a guy who maybe not be headlining the class, but is a crucial part of LSU's 2025 recruiting class, and that is Keelan Moses out of University High here in Baton Rouge. And I know you guys have been seeing the headlines. You guys saw he made a visit this past weekend to Texas A&M. And it sounded like Texas A&M had a lot to say about LSU, man. And I know, they got this little brother syndrome with us in Texas where they just want to feel accepted by us, and it'll just never happen. But they ran their mouth about Brian Kelly. The quote is out there. Who knows if it's true? Whatever it is, it got out, right? And the basis of the quote was Mike Elko kind of preaching that Brian Kelly's an offensive guy, Mike Elko is a defensive guy. So like, why would you not come play for Texas A&M? Because our coach is a defensive guy, your coach is an offensive guy. And they also headlined that visit with inviting his little brother, 2027 cornerback Emmanuel Moses. He ends up picking an offer up from the Aggies. He currently doesn't have an offer from LSU, but I would expect here in the sometime future that's going to get taken care of here. But most important thing, Keelan Moses, 2025 four-star linebacker, takes his visit to A&M. It sounds like A&M is really turning up the heat on him. LSU and Blake Baker have to do a very good job of kind of like showing the results, right? You're going through the spring practice. He's going to be on campus this week to watch some of spring practice. You kind of have to show him like, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. Like, this is how things are going to be run. Like, what you've seen in the past is not going to be what you're going to see in the future type thing. Blake Baker's an excellent recruiter. That whole defensive staff is excellent at recruiting, but Blake Baker especially is important here because he is coaching the linebackers. As long as he's defensive coordinator, he's going to have his hands in the linebacker room, and Keelis Moses is one of those prize picks for him that he needs to land. Like, this guy is in your backyard. He's a guy you need to land. And whatever comes about that is what comes about that. But he is a guy that is a top priority for this LSU class, not only because of his skill level, but because his personality. He relates to other recruits. He's a tremendous recruiter himself. He's made relationships with tons of 2025 recruits and beyond, right? Just in the state of Louisiana. And if we're going to continue to talk about it, it's that wall that we're trying to build around Louisiana and keep these kids in state. With the addition of Texas and Oklahoma and A&M, improving their staff, like, keeping recruits in state is even more crucial than it's ever been with the new growing world of college football and the transfer portal. You get guys in state, guys want to stay and play for LSU for 3 to 4 years, right? And that's kind of how it's going. But Keelan Moses, on not like an official visit or anything, he's just checking out practices this week. I'm sure he'll be in attendance for the spring game next week. But that's a guy that LSU fans might just want to keep an eye on, and just keep things close to the vest, man, because recruiting changes day by day, and that's a guy LSU desperately wants to have in this 2025 class. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about the 2025 class, and a lot of you guys have already heard this news and maybe have forgotten it by now, right? But LSU's last commitment was here by Tyler Miller out of Laurel, Mississippi, a 2025 interior offensive lineman and the number one interior offensive lineman on 3 Sports. LSU snags him out of the state of Mississippi. It's so hard to get kids out of Mississippi, get them away from those 2 schools, State and Ole Miss. But LSU goes in there and does it, and Brad Davis continues to prove why he's one of the best, if not the best, offensive line coach in the country. Grabbing a guy like him with the class you already have, with the class you just signed, you signed 6 elite offensive linemen last class, and you're just keeping the ball rolling this year. You can never have too much depth on the offensive line, especially in today's world with the transfer portal and everything else going on in college football. It is apparent to have so much depth. And Brad Davis not only is great at communicating and teaching, he is great at recruiting. And I think LSU fans are going to be thrilled with the class he pulls in this 2025 class as well. Because I don't think it's over, which leads us to our next prospect we're going to talk about, and that is Carius Kearney, a guy from Arkansas, a guy who was committed to the Hogs for a long time out of Marion, Arkansas. He is an interior offensive lineman as well, currently rated as number 5 offensive lineman in the class of 2025. He is a top 150 recruit. This guy is the real deal, man. He's got the size, he's got the athleticism, and he is the number 1 player in Arkansas. And getting him not only would be getting him on campus and getting him in here and sitting down with Brad Davis and kind of approaching what their plan is for them. It also obviously takes away from an SEC West rival. Like, you can't discount how big it is to go into another state and grab the number 1 prospect from that state, because that in-state school and the Texas schools are all in on these types of kids. And LSU seems to feel like they're in a good spot with him. Brad Davis has done a tremendous job keep recruiting him, reopened his commitments, kind of evaluating things in the process right now. LSU currently holds like a 95% crystal ball for him on 3 Sports, which is what we usually go by. But obviously, nothing's said and done. He hasn't really announced a timetable for when he wants to commit, but there's always going to be that thing with a guy from his home state. Like, is he just exploring options? Is he in it for the NIL? Like, all that stuff has to continue to play out, and we're going to get a really good feel, I think, for what this class is going to be after the summer, because a lot of these guys want to make their decisions before their senior year. And that's when you usually see the most commitments in that July, August range, right before they kick off fall practice for their high school. So, that being said, let's talk about some more 2025 guys that are going to be on campus, including today's practice. Um, Maybe just checking out a couple practices this weekend. You got a guy like four-star wide receiver CJ Wiley out of Georgia. LSU is pushing for him hard. Cortez Hankton, obviously familiar with that area coming from Georgia. CJ Wiley is the son of former LSU star Chuck Wiley. He's back for another visit. And LSU feels really good about him. Another top 100 prospect, top 10 wide receiver for this cycle. And you got to think LSU already has DeCorian Moore and Tyron Francis committed in this class. Um, you got guys like Khalik Lockett, who's the number 2 receiver in the class. He's locked into another official visit. So you have that on deck. You kind of have a safeguard here with the wide receiver position. As long as you have DeCorian Moore and Bryce Underwood and Harlan Berry in this class, like, guys are gonna want to play with those guys. So I think LSU's kind of taking it slow with the wide receiver recruiting. I think they're pushing for guys that they really want, and they're just kind of cherry picking right now. Guys that they've evaluated and feel good about. They're not really going out of like their way to go get like crazy top guys, but guys that they've been watching for a long time and guys that they know want to come play in this offense, that have seen the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jeffersons, and now the Brian Thomases and Malik Neighbors come out of LSU, and everybody knows what the wide receiver room at LSU is now, and it is a staple for NFL talent, and it is no different any year. It's going to be like that this year. It's going to be like that the year after. And a lot of kids are drawn in by that. And I think Cortez Hankton is having a field day in recruiting. He's a relatable guy, a younger guy who can relate with these players. He coaches them hard. And it shows, right? You've seen the development from Cortez, from, a guy like Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors came in here, was a little raw. Brian Thomas came here, he was a little raw. And even a guy like Kyron Lacey, who made a big jump this past year. A guy who started out, not on the field a lot, but then worked his way up. Obviously, Cortez got in there, worked with them a little bit. And LSU's receivers in general were just outstanding the past couple years. And that's attractive if you're a recruit. Like, that's what recruits want to see. They just want to see putting guys in the NFL. And they want to see guys on commercials. They want to see the guys wearing the big chains. Like, they know that when you go play LSU, wide receiver at LSU, like, that means something nowadays. So look for that. Look for a couple of those guys returning to Baton Rouge soon. Let's talk about a couple 2026 guys now. Personally, guys, this 2025 class is absolutely loaded, right? But the 2026 class, I feel like, is very important for LSU. They're all important, but when you have the kind of quality guys coming out of Louisiana like you do in the 2026 class, you got guys like Lamar Brown. You got guys like Blaine Bradford out at Catholic High, safety. All of these guys are 5-star players. And that's not even including the number 1 player in the country, Jakeem Stewart, a defensive lineman from down there in New Orleans. So you have 3 guys in the top 5 of just recruiting rankings, not just the state, in the top 5 of recruiting rankings. Like, that's 3 5-stars in your home state. You land those 3 guys for this class, and that could set you up for not only this year, but many years to come, because you've built those relationships. And guys, I'm telling you, when kids see kids from Louisiana playing at LSU, it makes them think about what that could be for them. And it's always great to have your family here. And it's just like, it's what LSU's recruited for the last 25 years since Nick Saban got here. It's what's been preached. Like, don't make a 3 to 4 year decision, make a life decision. Like, what what LSU does for them and what these kids do for LSU is a big selling point for Brian Kelly, and he's done a tremendous job at it already. And I don't think that's going to change. But Lamar Brown, Blaine Bradford going to be on campus this weekend to watch a couple of the spring practices. So that's huge for LSU. And like I said, man, this 2025 class is going to start getting heated up. The spring game is coming up, so we're going to have a ton of people on campus in the next couple weeks. Make sure you guys are keeping up with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is you need to be keeping up with us on. And if you're not already and you're still here watching, why aren't you subscribed? Just go ahead and do it. And then we'll call it a night. So that's all I got for you guys today, man. I hope you guys appreciated the information in this video. Like I said, man, subscribe to the channel. All it does is help us out, and I greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys next time.